everyone. Today we will start lesson number 12, friction. This chapter again comes under the section of physics. In the previous chapter, we have discussed about different forces where we studied about contact and non-contact force. There also we studied a small segment of friction. So you all are now aware what friction is. Friction is a type of contact force and it opposes the motion of any of the object. Means if the motion of objects is towards right, the friction will act towards the left side. So in this chapter, we will study about what actually force of friction. In a detailed form, we will study factors which affect friction, then why friction is necessary, ways to increase and ways to reduce friction, and we will also study about fluid friction. So in these pictures you can see if a ball is kicked, after some time it reaches to the ground. Why this thing happens? Because ball stops at the surface of the ground, and because the surface of the ground is offering friction. Due to friction, the ball is stopped and it is lying on the ground. Same way, the cycles or motorbikes, when brakes are applied, then they stop. Again, what is happening? Because when a person is applying the brake to the moving bicycle, the surface of brakes offers friction to the surface of moving wheel and the bicycle stops due to friction. Friction will act when two surfaces come in contact with each other. We have studied this because it is a contact force and it is always acting in the opposite direction to the motion of the object. Okay, so if you see this picture here, the man is applying force to pull the box in this direction. So what will be the direction of friction? The friction force will be acting in the opposite direction. Okay, one more slide for this. This is the mass on which the force is being applied from this direction. So the friction which is not causing this object to move will be from the opposite direction. Now this is activity number 1 from your book, where the book is placed. This is the position of the book. This was the original position of the book, and then the book has been slided. Okay, and then you have slided the book and the position of book turns to be this. Okay, in figure B also, this was the actual position of the book, and then when you have slided, this is the final position of the book. The book moved towards this thing. So what you observe in both the figures, you can see that book stops after moving certain distance. It has covered a distance when you have slided, but it stops. So why the book is stopping? Because there is a force which is acting on the book from the opposite direction and thus slowing the movement. You are sliding the book from this direction. The frictional force is acting from this direction. Here the book is being slided from this direction. The force of friction is acting in this direction. I'll show you more clearly here. If this is the direction of motion, you are sliding this side, then direction of friction will be just the reverse. Here again, when the book is moving towards the left side, now this will be the direction from the friction, which is from the right side. So this thing to be clearly kept in mind, that force of friction always act in the opposite direction of the motion of the object. Now what causes friction? Why friction comes into action? It is due to the irregularities which are present between the surface which result in friction. For suppose this box is lying here, you can't see the irregularities. If you see, you find it's smooth, no irregularities are present. But if you observe the microscopic structure, then you will see this is the surface of box and this is the surface of ground. It has got some hills and valleys between them, and they both fit into each other, and this entangling and finishing of the hills and valleys result in the force of friction. It is due to the roughness of the two surfaces. From outside you can see the surface is smooth, but actually the surface is not smooth, the surface is rough, and this roughness results in the production of friction. Now we come to the factors which affect friction. The first factor, as you can see, is the nature of the surface. More the rough the surface is, higher will be the frictional force. And if the surface is smooth, the friction will be less or friction will be low. Okay. It depends upon the roughness and smoothness of the surface. Rough surface offers more friction and smooth surface offers less friction. Okay. So you feel comfortable in walking on a dry floor. But if the floor is wet or if some oil has been dropped on the floor, then you feel difficulty. Why? Because the friction has been reduced there, as oil or any liquid has made the surface rough, due to which walking becomes difficult because of the lesser friction. Next factor on which friction depends is the weight of the body which is moving. Greater the weight of the object, greater will be the force of friction acting on the object. Now this is the third point, though it is not given in your book, but you should know that friction does not depend upon the area of contact. These are the two blocks which have equal weight. But if you keep it like this, the area is more, and here if the block is kept vertically, the area is less. So frictional force does not depend upon the area of the surface. Okay. So today we have studied about friction, the cause of friction, and the factors which affect friction. Next we will study about the types of friction in the next video. Thank you everybody.